In this video, I'm going to be explaining to you how I made this beautiful red dress that you can see on the screen right now. I'm so excited about it, and you're going to also be learning how you can make this dress if you want to. Hello everyone, my name is Kalthar, Nigeria's crochet queen, and I share videos on my YouTube channel that will help you create original crochet pieces of your own without following anybody's patterns. If this sounds like something you're interested in, definitely click the subscribe button down below so that you do not miss out on any one of my videos. When you make original crochet pieces, you can charge a premium for them because it means that your customers cannot find these pieces anywhere else, which is why it is my aim to teach you how to create and sell original crochet pieces for the premium price that they deserve to be sold at. All this out of the way, I believe you've subscribed now. Let's get into today's video. Before I proceed, I want to let you know that I'm not going to actually be crocheting in this video. All I'm going to be doing is explaining the steps I took to make this dress. If you are not into crochet, if you've not gotten into crochet, I highly advise that you take my Crochet for Beginners course to get you started, because if you are not into crochet, then you might not really understand everything I say in this video. But if you already crochet, I'm sure you'll find this video helpful because I'm going to be telling you the exact things I did to be able to make this dress. So let's begin. The very first step was sort of the inspiration. It wasn't a step per se. This was just like the idea for the dress, and I had this idea for a very long time. I wanted to have that pattern on a dress. It was the pattern that inspired the dress. I wanted to have that pattern on a dress. I'm going to bring up the dress once again so you can see the pattern I'm talking about. So I already decided I was going to make a dress with this pattern someday, and my anniversary was approaching, so I just thought, oh, this is actually a good time to crochet this dress that I've had in my mind for a long time. And that was the inspiration for the dress. My anniversary was coming up. I knew it was going to be a really fantastic dress to wear for my anniversary. We didn't really go out. I mean, my husband and I, we didn't really go out. We only had a family photo shoot, which was what I wore the dress for. So yeah, that was the inspiration for the dress. Now, after getting inspired, I knew what I wanted. The next thing I had to do was to actually do a sketch. So I sketched down the dress, I sketched what I wanted it to look like, and I also put my measurements in the sketch because of course the dress belongs to me. I'm going to see if I can still find a picture of my sketch, and I'll put it on the screen so you can see. It's supposed to be like a long dress, fitted long dress, so it means that it's going to come in at the waist, go out at the bust, just to fit my body properly, because of course the waist measurement is usually smaller than the bust measurements and the hip measurements for women. So it means that I was working from the bottom of the dress. I would have been working from the bottom of the dress, so it means that as I was working up until the hip, I need to increase my project, and then after the hips, when working to the waist, I need to decrease my stitches to make it smaller for the waist, and then at the end, when I'm done with the waist, I need to increase again to make room for my bust. Anyways, I'm jumping. After doing the sketch, again, I'll put a picture of the sketch on the screen so you can see. I do my sketch, I put in my measurements, so I am very clear as to what to do. Yeah, you might be hearing me talk about increasing and decreasing. That is because if you want to make a fitted crochet dress, you need to take into consideration the fact that the hips and the bust are bigger than the waist, and you cannot use the same measurements for these three parts of the body. You're not going to get the right fit. This is why it is necessary to increase and decrease. And if you want to know how to do this, I do have a mini course, crochet sizing and measurement course, where I teach you how to create crochet clothes that fit perfectly. Definitely click the link in the description box to check out this course if this is something you're interested in. If you find out that you usually crochet clothes and they end up bigger or smaller than you intended them to be, then you definitely need this course. It's going to really teach you how you can crochet clothes that will fit perfectly the way you intended it to fit. Now the next step was to actually create a crochet chart with this diagram, with this pattern that I wanted to have on my dress. I don't know what this pattern is called. The whole pattern you see on the dress, I don't know what it's called. But the next step after knowing what I wanted to do was to create the crochet chart, because the crochet chart is what will guide me when crocheting. I'm going to put a picture on the screen right now of what the crochet chart looks like. So the crochet chart, I had to create it so that I know how to go about the crocheting, I knew I wanted to use a filet crochet technique, and the filet crochet technique is just this technique that you've seen that the dress is made in. You can see that some parts have holes, and then the parts that don't have holes, the solid, the squares that are filled, they are the ones forming the pattern. That's the filet crochet technique. It's just a technique where you can use holes or solid blocks to portray a diagram and icon on your crochet piece, which is what you see in the dress. There are holes all over, and then the solid blocks represents, or the solid blocks are forming the pattern that you see on the dress. I really do hope you understand. So I knew that I wanted to use the filet crochet technique, and the crochet chart as well let me know, okay, so which squares should be open and which squares should be solid. So if you notice the crochet chart, some of them are just like white color, and some blocks in the chart are black color. You would also notice that the black squares are the ones forming the pattern. So for me, that just told me that whenever I come across a black square in my chart, I should do a solid, I should crochet a solid square on my crochet fabric. And whenever I see a white square on the crochet chart, I should crochet an open square on my crochet fabric. That is the essence of the chart. So following that chart from beginning to the end will just ensure that by the time you're done with your project, you're going to have the same exact thing that you see on the chart on your crochet fabric. As you see, I'm going to put up the chart as well as the dress so that you can also compare for yourself, and you'll see that the chart is exactly the same thing that I have on my dress. This is why it is important to create the chart. So my second step, after being clear on what I wanted, the second step was to create my crochet chart. If you're wondering how to create a crochet chart, I do have a free video that you can watch where I teach you how to create a crochet chart. Just click the link in the description box below to watch that free video. And then after creating the crochet chart, I go ahead to do a swatch, because I know what measurements I want my piece to be, but I don't know how many chains I need to begin with to be able to arrive at this measurement, and the swatch is going to give me that information. Before you can do your swatch, you need to be clear on the yarn you want to use for the project, because this is the yarn you're going to use for your swatch. You also need to be clear on what hook size you want to use and the stitch you want to use, because these are the things you'll also be using for your swatch. I wanted this dress to be very dainty, very lacy, you know, so I decided to use a lace weight yarn. I decided to use a lace weight cotton yarn because I just liked the feel of that yarn. It's cotton, it's lacy, and I thought that it would bring out the beauty of the dress the most. So I chose this yarn, and I chose it in a red color. I'm going to put a video or a picture on the screen of the yarn I used, and I decided to use a 2.25 mm hook because I wanted a small hook. It's lacy again. That is the hook size that worked best with that yarn and gave me the results I wanted. So I made the swatch, and after making the swatch, I was able to determine the number of chains to begin my project with. If you're not sure how to use a swatch to arrive at the number of chains you're going to begin your projects with, definitely check the description box below. I'm going to link one of my blog posts where I was talking all about gauge swatch in crochet and how to use a swatch to determine the number of chains to begin your projects with, and all that, if this is not something you're already familiar with. Check the link in the description box to read that blog post. Now that the swatch is out of the way, it is time to begin our project, and I begin with the number of chains that I arrived at using my swatch. Again, I was working this dress from the bottom all the way up, and I was working it in 2 panels. So I did the front panel separately and the back panel separately. I began from the base, and as I was working up the dress row by row, I began increasing so as to make room for my hip, because the bottom of the dress is smaller than the hip area. So I was increasing up until the hip. Then when I got to the hip, I started decreasing for the waist, because the waist is smaller than the hip. And when I got up until the waist, I started increasing again to make room for the bust, because my waist is smaller than my bust area. And when I got to the bust, that was the end of the increase. I then shaped the armholes, that's the part under the arm. I shaped that, and I just finished working the front panel of the dress. All along, I was working with the crochet chart, so the chart was telling me when to make an open square and when to make a closed or solid square. That is what the filet crochet technique is. You have open squares and closed squares in hopes that you're going to come out with a pattern when you're done crocheting your fabric. When I finished the front panel, I worked on the back panel using the same crochet charts, using the same measurements. And when I was done with the back panel, I joined the two panels together. I first joined them together at the shoulder using single crochet, and then I joined them together at the side using single crochet as well. So I joined each side with single crochet, I joined the shoulder, and that was actually the end. I know that with the way I filmed this video, I've made it so easy. The technique, the steps are actually really easy. It's only if you don't know what you're doing that you're going to be making mistakes or something. It's really easy. Those are really all the steps you need to take, and all the steps are very important, because if I did not create the crochet charts, I wouldn't have been able to make this piece with the pattern that you see. And if I didn't do the swatch, the dress wouldn't have fitted me this well, because I wouldn't know the number of chains to start with. I will not know how many stitches I want to have in the hip area. I will not know how many stitches I want to have in the waist area, you know, because I started with 36 blocks, and I had to increase up until 42 blocks to make room for my hip, and then I had to decrease again to like maybe 30 blocks. I'm not so sure exactly the number of blocks I was increasing and decreasing, but I had to increase to make room for the wide parts of my body, and I had to decrease, and the swatch was what gave me that information. So if you didn't do the swatch, you probably have to frog a lot when you realize that the dress doesn't really fit, which will be too late, or you just make a lot of mistakes because you're just guessing, you're not really sure. All the steps are important, and after saying all this, if this is something you'd like to learn or actually see me do, I have a course, Crochet with Names and Diagrams, where I teach you how to crochet pieces with names or diagrams or patterns like the one I've spoken about in this video. This course is a really detailed course. It actually teaches you 7 different techniques that you can use to create crochet pieces with names or diagrams. Again, the technique I used for this dress is the filet crochet technique, but there are several other techniques you can use to create crochet pieces with names or diagrams. Definitely click the link in the description box below if you want to check this course out. It's definitely going to like really change the game for you, because you're going to learn so many different techniques, and at the end of the day, I'm sure you're just going to be cranking out crochet pieces with different names or diagrams or patterns. Whatever you want, you'll be able to do it. But of course, even if you don't take the course, just follow the steps I've laid down in this video, and I'm very sure you're going to be able to make a crochet piece with a name or diagram or pattern of your choice. Don't forget to also check out the free video where I'm teaching you how to create crochet charts. There's a link in the description box as well, so check out that video if you want to learn how to create crochet charts. But then the Crochet with Names and Diagrams course goes over all of this. You can see the curriculum when you click on the link in the description box. It goes over how to make different kinds of crochet charts, how to make crochet charts for names, how to make crochet charts for diagrams, how to make crochet charts for one alphabet, for one icon. You know, the course is really rich and detailed, so check that out. It's going to show you how I do all the steps I outlined in this video for the 7 different techniques you can use to create crochet pieces with names and diagrams. I do hope you enjoyed this video and found it helpful. Please don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel if you still haven't. I put out videos once every week that will help you create more original crochet pieces that you can sell at a premium price. If you have any questions whatsoever about everything I explained in this video, feel free to leave it in the comment section down below, and I am going to see you in my very next video. All right, bye.